So thank you very much in this session. My name is Sudipto Ghosh. I am a partner in PwC India. I have about 25 years of experience, and I currently lead the data and analytics practice of PwC India. In addition to that, I also lead the industrial product sector, and I'm very privileged to be part of this session. Uh, I will probably request my fellow panelists to quickly introduce themselves, and then we will start the discussion.
Janak Bindora. I'm working with Cars 24 Services Private Limited as a director for the digital transformation. I'm having 22 plus years of experience, especially in the applications, IT infrastructures as well as IT security. So I did many implementations of ERP and analytics in past.
Thank you, Janak. Maybe Salim, I can call you next to introduce.
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh. My name is Abdullah Salim, and I head the complete IT infra and application perspective for the Incor Group. Incor Group is having multiple business, starting from healthcare, pharma, IT company, and real estate, and of course the fintech. So I lead from the front of the entire group, uh, and prior to that, I have worked for uh, all the uh, healthcare domain perspective in terms of Indian healthcare, US, UK, Europe, and Gulf countries. I
Thank you
bring
very
the experience of 27 years of experience, and I have developed almost 10 products till today.
Thank you very much, Salim. Great to meet you. Abhishek, can you go next?
Sure. So I lead the digital transformation initiatives at Blue Star. I've been around here for 12 years now, so I've seen the curve of ERP implementation, then support, and different mobile apps and analytics. Before that, I was in sales, so there is a little bit of the business side of things as well, where how not to do certain things, how to try and do a few things right. So with that experience, trying to bring that to technology as well, to play the business partner, that cliche which is often used today between technology and business. So that's the attempt.
I can certainly tell you, Abhishek, that is not at all a cliche, it is the need of the hour. But we'll quickly move on to the topic of the conversation this evening. It's all about unlocking the potential of data and analytics to deliver measurable business value. Now, of course, it sounds fairly straightforward that why would you do data and analytics if you're not unlocking value for the business? But then, more often than not, we find many organizations who would have embarked in their journey towards data and analytics, but not all of them have been very successful, or they have made mistakes and then they have learned from them. So it is not as obvious as the subject line looks like. We will try and explore a little bit more in terms of what it entails to deliver business outcomes and unlock the potential of an organization using data and analytics. So while we are talking about data and analytics, maybe the first thing which comes to our mind is that why at all we are talking about data and analytics for delivering business value. And maybe I will start by saying that decision making has been one of the most critical aspects of any organization. In today's complex world, the speed of decision making and the accuracy of decision making is what really makes or breaks an organization because of so many changes which are happening all around. And maybe data and analytics is one of the enablers of the same. However, let me invite Janak to expand a little bit more on this initial theme of the reason why data and analytics can be used, and what are some of the examples where we have seen it happening and working for organizations. So, Janak, over to you.
Thanks, Sudipta. Thanks, everyone. So basically, the question is very, very interesting. Why data analytics is required? Okay, so the very first answer is the data analytics is required for delivering the business value. So see, the data analytics, basically is a process of storing, organizing, and analyzing the raw data, whatever we have collected, and which helps us to answer the questions of gain important insights for out of that particular data. Okay, so the data analytics is integral to business because it allows the leadership to create evidence-based strategy, to understand the customer, to better target marketing initiatives, to increase overall productivity. All these are the the big benefits what we can achieve using the data analytics. Okay, so I can say it is very important for today's digital world, as the every individual, every organizations generates the digital footprints, right? So using all these digital footprints, that is the raw data, we need to collect it together and to create the insight, to create the analytics based on that, so that the ability to make the data driven decision, as well as to create the strategy informed by this particular analytics. That is the core the area for a successful leadership in any of the industries that we can say. On the other end, we can say the data is nothing but a new oil for the car. Okay, so it helps us to accelerate the business in very fast way. One of the survey happened in the past in the China. 90% of the digital data in the world has been created in last couple of years alone only, right? So in these particular things, the data generation is now happens very fast, right? So the data and analytics is helps us for all the massive data gathered by the organizations which requires the analysis. Traditional methods of computing, now it did not allow us for the quick analysis for such type of huge big data. That's why the new advent of the new technologies such as the cloud computing, which helps us for generating the fast analysis type of things, and resulting the data analysis becomes the more meaningful with the help of all these new technologies. Let me give one example. Okay, so there are certain data whatever has been generated. Okay, and that we can collect it to analyze the same instantly. These data from say for example for the product or services whatever is there. Okay, all this data helps which we collected from the customers, which includes the purchasing and search behavior. It's the personal preference or details whatever is there. Okay, how consumer prefers the method of communications, the social media usage and its pattern, location of informations. All this data can be analyzed using the machine learning algorithms, and the services offered by the organizations that can adjust it to the suits to individual needs. Because of these things, particularly the pattern and all these things, we can assess the complete consumer behavior, and these services offers to the customers can thus be we can make it the tailor made for respective customers, right? So all these particular different type of analytics what we are collecting, we are preparing, which helps us to receive the competitive advantage. There are 5 different ways where the data creates the competitive advantage. Very first thing is data, whatever we have collected, it helps us to find the right consumer. Okay, so the finding the right consumer for your business is very important task while doing the business, right? So this the right consumer who needs the solutions or service which helps the business to stay profitable and it also helps to provide the large scale of the data resources. Okay, how it helps, it helps for creating marketing campaigns or the target group of peoples, right kind of channels and everything. Second important competitive advantage that we can get is the swifter and better decision making that helps for this data analytics. Other than that, the data analytics helps to get closer to the customers. Okay, so since we knows the pattern, we knows the the likes and likes of the consumer, which helps us to get very closer to the customer. It also helps to create the synergy within the business also, because there are some like and unlikes, and it impacts on the different departments of the organizations as well. Okay, so this data analytics helps us compartmentalizing of the work within the department itself, within the organization itself. And very important competitive advantage that we can get, that is, it helps to develop long-term strategy which creates the value. So all these are the different competitive advantage that we can get from the data analytics.
No, thank you very much, Janak. I think a few things, call outs from what you said, which I want to just kind of reiterate. One is the fact that the amount of data which organizations are capturing is huge. And not just it's the capturing of the data, it's also about the ability to take round the clock 24 by 7 decisions, sometimes autonomous decisions also in many sectors like pricing or logistics kind of decisions, which will be virtually impossible for humans to kind of do that, because they will not be able to keep up with the pace of the change. The other factor which is very critical is possibly the fact that you may have to customize, as you said, from a consumer perspective. You have to customize it to the specific consumer or to the specific group, and your decisions could be very different. So all of these complexities naturally lends itself to using data in a more intelligent manner for taking decisions. Now, when we are talking about that, let me come back to the main theme of the topic, which is driving business outcomes or measurable business value. So, when we are talking about measurable business value, what is it that we need to do where we will be able to link some of these initiatives with measurable outcomes? So, maybe I'm very tempted to reach out to Abhishek, you, because you have been on both sides of the table. You have been on the business side, and now you are kind of playing the role on the data or on the analytics side, and you have seen both the worlds. So how do you marry the two worlds together in the sense that whatever initiatives you are doing from a enablement perspective, from a capability perspective, drives the business outcomes, and vice versa, whatever are the business objectives, how they can be traced back into the programs which where data and analytics can play an important role. So how do you link the two is usually the holy grail which many organizations look for. So we'll be looking for some words of wisdom from you, Abhishek.
Thanks. You've put me on a spot. But on a lighter note, while our topic is about unlocking the potential of data analytics to deliver measurable business value, the joke is initially delivers miserable business value. Because often what happens is in organizations, analytics has been around for a while now. As I think, Janak, you rightly mentioned, it is data is the new oil, which has been bandied about since 2017, as far as I can remember. But you also need to know how to use it. So I think one of the things that we've discovered in our journey at Blue Star as well is the first thing is to be patient. In that often what happens, we are in a rush to deliver that value without sometimes knowing to what end, meaning what is the end objective that we would like to achieve. So it's basically, from whatever experience I've had, good and bad, Sudipta, is that you have to be ready to be surprised by the data itself and not go by the traditional methods. And that requires a bit of a shift, especially for organizations that have been around for a while. Like we've been around for about 80 years. That is one. And the other part is that just because there is analytics, one needn't change their business goal to tweak analytics. It's the other way around, in that your goals can still remain the same. For instance, expanding a channel in an area where you have blind spots. Organizations like ours who reach customers through channel partners. So what is it that we need to do? Those questions still remain the same. For example, I think Goodnight had done something interesting. They had to sell their mosquito repellents in places. So that's, how do we increase footfalls as well as the turnaround of stock on the shelves of the FMCG counters? They used certain data of rainfall, spread of dengue, and with publicly available information, and try to piece it together to achieve a goal that they've always had. And whereas then you will also have some other areas where data could tell you a story that you least expected. Some of it may come through data, some of it may come through observations, wherein a sales guy who's on the field might see something happening 10 times, and he might take that insight to the marketing team, who might then create an ad. That also is data. So I think since you asked what is a bridge, I think the business team have to be open enough to let data run some of their decisions while they wear their thinking hat as well, and not completely rely on data. And second, can't expect miracles overnight, because it's a bit of a longish journey. So yeah, that's that.
Oh, I really loved your expression, when you said that ready to be surprised by the data, Abhishek. I think I really loved that. And I think there is a lot which needs to be kind of understood from that very nice statement of yours. Now this is a great perspective from an industry point of view. And I think we also have Rajiv in the call from BCG. So maybe this is, Rajiv, if you are able to hear us and see us, then maybe this is an opportune moment for you to jump in and share your perspectives about how do you really link some of these measurable business outcomes with the data and analytics initiatives, and what has been your experience from a consulting standpoint, and what are some of the things which we need to keep in mind, or organizations need to keep in mind to get this connect right, because if you get this connect right, you have literally solved 50% of the problem.
The thing is, data is the new, I would say, oil or gold, whatever you may call it. And the analytics is very important for any organization. I think it gives you a lot of perspective. If in case it is sales, the data analytics can tell you where you are performing well, where you are not performing well, and all. If you are in, any other business, the data gives you a lot of inputs on how to improve your business. I would not say anything from consulting perspective, because we are not generally allowed to speak anything about consulting and our company and all. So I would say that for any organization, data is very key to how to perform and how to improve their working and business and all. And uh, most organizations are benefiting a lot through these analytics. And with Gen AI and other things coming in, I mean, they are building their models which can work on this existing data, and it can give them very good predictions on how they will perform or how they can improve their businesses and all. So overall, getting the data of not only your organization but your competitors, then analyzing both these, where you are performing better than those people, where they are performing better than you and you need to improve. So all those things, I mean, you can build various models, and then once you start using them, you will realize the potential, and you will also come to know where you can change the business, or make sure that you are becoming more competitive, more customer focused, and you are able to go on a growth journey. That's all from my side.
Thank you, Rajiv. I think now that we have discussed why we need DNA, data and analytics, how do we link it with the business, possibly the next piece which will be important is how do we go about it. And maybe Salim, I will be reaching out to you as a CIO. Sometimes you have to bear the entire mantle of how do you make it happen, how do you make it real, with all the data, with all the technology, with all the integration, with everything else thrown into the mix. What's the best approach to make it successful, make it relevant, make it meaningful for an organization? So, would be great to hear a thought, Salim, on this as to how do we translate the strategy or the thought process into something more tangible and actionable on the ground.
Great. See, I will speak on the healthcare stand healthcare side rather than because all the friends have added their values and their thoughts and views from their industry perspective. But in healthcare is in a huge demand, and healthcare was the industry who has adopted the technology very less compared to other industry. So I would like to add the points from the healthcare and hospital perspective. There is no choice if we're talking about the business top line, bottom line, sustainability of the business. There is no choice to not to have the data analytics. If any application is going to be deployed, or the legacy application which has been deployed, and if the analytics is not there, then the organization is going nowhere. So, data analytics perspective in healthcare, it is required in the runtime perspective. Runtime when at the point of care. Point of care means when the doctors dealing with the patient, whether in a tertiary care, primary care, or secondary care. Then and when the data is there and he's extracting the historic data and he's is going to treat the patient by parking the current episode of diagnosis, sign and symptom, then based on the analytics, the system is going to um, um, trigger to the patient to the clinical pathway to start treating the patient. And there is a called the clinical decision support system at point of care. If the analytics is not there, that clinical decision support system is not going to work. If it is not going to work, then you are going to hamper the complete treatment, and knowingly, unknowingly, we are going to commit the clinical errors. And of course, unknowingly, nobody does that, but unknowingly, it happens, and it is happening across the globe. And that's why the technology is being adopted on a very fast track in the healthcare industry. So, to ensure the better patient engagement, the customer, the patient satisfaction, if analytics is not implemented and in the applications, uh, uh, then it is impossible to exit with the better top line and bottom line for the organizations in the industry. I'll give you a very simple example. If you know how the healthcare and business is complicated. Suppose if a patient is having head and neck cancer, and he has been parked the cancer type and the staging, automatically the system is says that whether the patient is supposed to go for the uh, 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 pre-surgery chemo or post-surgery chemo, and what would be the dosage and what would the interval. The system is going to tell to the doctors, and then top of it, the doctors cannot change that clinical pathway, clinical protocol more than 10 to 15%. And then he start the treatment, and then the right from the outpatient treatment, especially in the during the chemo, as a daycare patient or admitted patient post surgery, the administration of the medicines will be calculated automatically, and BCMA barcode administration is going to administer the drugs based on the doses, whether where the system and the doctors have decided. And if it is not happening, if it is happening manually, there is too many errors is supposed to be committed by the clinical users, maybe the doctors, junior doctors, duty doctors, and nurses. So in that area, in that era, the analytics in runtime is definitely demand, and it is being implemented within the application, and hospitals are refusing to take those kind of application where there's no analytics. That is the first part. And in the runtime, I'm talking about at the point of care between patient and the doctor. And now you come to the business perspective. the business perspective, if you're going to come, if the analytics is not there, the predictive analytics is not there, that to what mistake they have made, what the best they have done, and what could be done, what could be a best, what could be done more best. So those things are going to be given from the historic data, on the large scale data, and then plan for the further investment, and plan for the further business execution. I'll give you one more example of the NPS, Net Promoter Score, where the analytics is going to add, analytics is adding a lot of value in terms of patient experience achievement. So if analytics is not there and data is not there in runtime or in the historic, then as a conclusion, what will happen, that the business is going to be impacted, and impacted internally, externally with the competitors. And the business value data analysis is measurable across various key performance indicators, impacting both the top and bottom lines of the organization. It transforms data into actionable insight, providing a competitive advantage and contributing to overall success and the sustainability of the business. So that is the where, and that's where I come from, and that's where my experience come up from. But if you'll see that analytics is going to enable in terms of your improved decision making quickly, increase revenue, of course, cost reduction, efficiency for the patient and for the organization as well. Enhance customer satisfaction. There's no question. There's no way to enhance the customer satisfaction if the analytics is not working. Risk management, risk in terms of the data, in terms of the security, in terms of the prediction. Productive and implied performance, of course, going to add value. Innovation and revenue streams to plan further. Marketing efficiency is also going to be analyzed. Supply chain optimizations can be done, and then customer acquisitions and retention is very, very important. As I said, that in healthcare, customer acquisition and then retention is a big challenge, where the analytics is adding a lot of value to retain the customer. Over to you.
No, thank you, Salim. I think a few things which I would like to call out. Maybe Janak, you want to quickly comment?
Let me add, a very important part what Abdullah Salim has, articulate the complete things. It's in simple word, we can say it's, the complete data-driven organizations, that what the Abdullah Salim is saying. It is, harnessing the data as an asset to drive, the sustained innovations in the healthcare industry, whatever the example he has given, and to create the actionable insights to supercharge the customer's experience. Appreciate.
Sure. No, thanks for that. So I thought I'll kind of call out a few things, which Salim mentioned. I think one thing which kind of stuck with me is that people don't have a choice but to use data and analytics. That is one. And second is it is needed at the point of care. And sometimes the system will determine the pathway. And that leads me to the conclusion that trust is a very important aspect of what will be one of the key important or key things for somebody to use an algorithm or any analytics in the organization to drive benefit. Now, I would be kind of passing the baton to Abhishek in terms of giving your perspective that what are some of the guardrails, what would be some of the learnings which you may wish to share with all of us, given the fact that you have been on the business side of how analytics has been used from a business perspective.
Right, thanks. I think one big learning, and it's very evident and straightforward, is people or the business expects results overnight, and that's just the way it is these days, because the competition keeps us on our toes. So the whole objective is to try and get there faster. And what is taken for granted at the business end is often leaves the digital folks scratching their heads, because the data sometimes simply isn't there. where people, I mean, where the business team might say, hey, this should be a switch and it should tell me where is it that I should appoint more dealers? Where is it that you have a blind area where, we are not present, but we would like us to be present. And I think one of the important guardrails in any project to start with is we need to keep in mind that eventually the data, first of all, we need to start collecting data if we don't have any, whether it's coming from a sensor of a HVAC equipment like a chiller, let's say, because it's important to know if a chiller is going down when it is, powering on ICUs in hospitals, or it could be in the car industry where these days everything is connected. Now, the first thing is collecting data, and number two is also knowing little things like not having a free text where a drop down can do the job, because you will get good quality data. So I think quite a few times we are, and for the right reasons, all the case studies out there, whether it's Harvard or books, they talk about the output and what happens before that in terms of the hard grind of collecting the data, massaging it, trying to make sure that it is in shape in which you can consume it. That is not talked about as much. And that is something that we also learned. I'll give you an example. I think the most famous one is that of Target, right? I think it's been well documented that there was, they figured out that if we can target pregnant women for in the supermarket chain, I think in the US, if we can target them to get them to buy everything from our store, then it would mean that we'll have more revenues. Now, Target, this organization, figured out a way to determine which lady was pregnant and in which month. So they started sending in these flyers to the consumers' homes, which was a subtle indication that they are indeed expecting, and these are the products that we can aim at you. And then one of these days, when one father came storming into the shop saying, "What is this? You guys are sending these kinds of flyers in the house. Why do you think my young daughter is pregnant, etc., etc." And he blasted. A few days later, he came back and he apologized, saying that, "Hey, I didn't know a few things went down in the house, and she is indeed pregnant," which is to say that the data could tell the consumer, I mean, it could say something about the consumer that the nearest and dearest ones didn't know. But the background to it is there was terabytes of data coming in, and there was a data scientist team which was meticulously examining everything in great detail. So I think the disparity currently is about, again, coming back to your question, business wants everything soon enough, which is absolutely right. Sometimes it may not be possible to deliver that, but incrementally, if we can get there, to start giving, just like you have these sprint-wise releases, very, in agile methodology, another jargon where IT outfits deliver in weeks or in fortnights. I think that too can be done, although analytics is meant to bring in those big bang changes, but you can still move with whatever data you have. Can we start giving interim results so that the business is also interested and doesn't feel like we've gone to sleep for a good year, like an ERP implementation, where we give them slight insights where they can then measure whether the increase in sales, or what Mr. Salim was talking about, whatever those KPIs might be, revenues or margins, which can help us give some sort of measurable benefits to consumers. I'm not sure if I answered your question entirely, but I think it's a slow process. And I think the expectations have to be that it may not bring an overnight change, but it's the responsibility of the analytics team and the IT team as well to start giving out with whatever data you have rather than waiting for everything to come in one place.
No, absolutely. I think it's a very sensible advice because the expectations actually run too high, given the hype around analytics, and now with AI and Gen AI, that everything will be solved almost instantaneously, or you will get an absolutely new, out of the world insight out of nowhere. So I don't think such miracles happen. Maybe once in a blue moon, but not on a regular course of business. So you'll have to be patient and learn through the ropes and make those incremental changes, and then see that benefit coming in over a period of time. So whilst we are talking about some of the guardrails, maybe Rajiv, I'll kind of lean on you to talk a little bit about information security in the context of what we are talking about in terms of the guardrails, whilst we are talking about implementation and usage of data and analytics solutions for organizations in terms of unlocking business value.
When you said on the guardrails and all, I can give you some examples in information security. So recently, like, we had lot of false positives coming through CSERT and all, and there were, when we were taking all these events and all, and we were analyzing them, there were some things which were critical, but they were being shown as false positive. So when we did more of data analytics and all, we realized that some of these critical events, they get bypassed as false positives and all. So uh, the more and more of analytics when you do it, it gives you two three benefits. One is such type of critical events, they don't go as false positive, and secondly, there are some events which are coming repetitively, and we don't have to take any action on those, because some of those CVs are not being taken up by the organizations, etc. So if you can build your analytics in such a way that all these can be removed, it will save a lot of time for your organization and the employees who are working on these critical events and all. This was one very good example where we were able to improve on the information security postures, and we were able to take better control of all these events coming through Splunk and all. So that was one good example where I felt this data analytics has helped a lot. Other than that, I really accept the fact that in health area, the data analytics is helping a lot, especially the patients, because over there, if they can profile you based on whatever problem you are facing. If in case it's a particular disease, they have already done research on various people related to that disease, whether it is cancer or whatever disease. So they have all these various examples already with them, and if you put it in an AI model, it will help you to a great extent, making sure that you're also going through the same treatment with others have got. The, I would say, exceptions are say 1 in a million or maybe 10 in a million. So if in case there are some exceptions and you fall under that exception, the doctor can immediately come to know that this treatment will not be suitable to you. So all these analytics are helping, I would say, every industry in a big way, because you have all these previous examples, even in education department, in, you name it, automobile. We work for quite a number of automobile companies, and over there also, the risk management related to automobiles uh, can be very easily, you can build the controls around those because of the past events. So you can do the analysis of the past events, and then you realize that these are the effects which had happened even for Boeing and other airlines and all. They are also doing all these analytics on all the past events, wherever the accidents have taken place, etc. They are analyzing those, and they are giving them very good inputs on how to control such things from happening in the future. Over to you. I think I'm
Thank you.
not going to unmute because it becomes difficult to mute. So mute
No
and
problem.
unmute.
Sure, sure, Rajiv. So thank you for that. Uh, what we did in the last 40 minutes or so was looked at various aspects, and I'll just kind of do a quick summary of the same. So the first thing we did was we looked at the need for using data and analytics, and understood that and pretty much in Salim's word, there is no other option but to use data and analytics, and also the fact that you are sometimes getting guided because of the sheer complexity, and hence it's almost like a no-brainer that you got to use data for getting insights and then for differentiating your strategy, whether it is related to customer or it is related to market or supply chain or any other functional area. Then we looked at the difficult piece of linking the measurable part of the outcome with the data and analytics initiatives. And here we are talking a lot about return on investment, and some of these returns are not just exactly financial returns. It could also be returns from a foundational perspective. You need to have a foundation of the data, foundation of the technical architecture, of the enablement, and then on top of it the use cases will deliver the benefits, both from a revenue as well as from a cost perspective, in terms of the overall business outcomes. And then we looked at some of the approaches which these organizations typically take. One thing I would like to just call out on the approach, and maybe Salim, I will kind of lean on you. Maybe that's one question I was trying to think if I can ask, is what kind of enablement will be needed in an organization, either by way of upskilling or by way of getting the right set of folks who can sustain a program. I was talking about data and analytics being a journey. It is not just a one-off thing which you start and finish. It's a continuous journey which you embark upon, and in that journey you obviously would have to institutionalize certain things. You will have to ensure that people have taken along, not just for delivering some new solutions but also for adopting and using them over a period of time. So any thoughts on this nature of skills, and how do you constantly keep on top of the changes from a technology and from a skills perspective in this journey?
Right. It's very simple. Uh, the approach of people process technology, the methodology of people process technology should be adopted by the any organization. I'll give an example that what is the people process technology. People to deliver any IT project in any industry, especially in healthcare, which I have as I have spent most of my career in the healthcare, and healthcare is the complex where the technology is being adopted on a very in other words, I can say it's tough to get adopted by the end users. The clinicians and the clinical users is toughest users to get it adopted. But if the organization is following people process technology methodology, then it will be a sustainable, a continuous evolving, sustainable, reliable, and keep getting the ROI. People process technology means if to deliver any technology project, people caters 35%, process caters 35%, technology caters just 30%. So there's the challenge where the right people, right process, then map with the technology. And if the right people, right process are not there, and doesn't matter how costly technology you have bought in, it is going to be a miserable failure. And it will not work, and it will be a big failure at the organization perspective. If people, right process is there in the place, a thin technology, whether it is a just evolving stage of artificial intelligence, or it is a mid-level maturity, it gives a wonder outcome to the organization. I'll give you one more example, very simple example. 1990, the Indian railway ticketing system was rolled out. In 1990, the technology was just a begin. It was a begin compared to today. But I've never ever seen the first ticket which I bought in Calcutta, and that's almost 38 years ago, and it was comprised ticket, and there was the people there, and after by filling my form, it in a fraction of second that the ticket I got it. So technology is very niche, and but people process were mad with that technology, and they did wonder. Internet came in 1997, 1998. Till then, I've never seen that at any station. And numberless time I went to the station and got to the station or some other railway offices where I got the ticket, comprised ticket in my hand. But I've never ever seen that system is down. It is slow, and the public is just shouting and voicing on the clerks who is doing the ticket, and that technology is still existing today as well. So I mean to say that if the right people, right process has been put in place with the thin technology, it will wonder. If the processes are not there, SOPs has not been done properly, and it is not being followed by the organization, then technology will not help at any given point of time. That's the way I look at it, and that's the way I have implemented the biggest project in healthcare called Max Group of Hospital in 2008 to 2011, and it was 121 crores project only for the software perspective, and infrastructure and data center was excluded. So it was evolved the right people, right process, and the EMR and the technology was very thin, but it did wonder for the patient perspective. Over to you.
Thank
Yeah, I
you.
think as far as upskilling is concerned, that is required in every area. So even if you implement a tool and the people don't know how to use it, you have to upskill them. And I would say most tools are used only 20-25%. Unless you are, even if you see the Excel, I mean, most people use only 20% of Excel. Unless you upskill the people, you will not get the best out of these tools, technologies. And I'm sure whether it is analytics, AI, ML, etc., whatever, any field, you have to make sure that the people who are using it, even in operations and all, I mean, any of the manufacturing companies, distribution, unless they know their activity pretty well, you will not get the best output. So
Well,
upskilling is key to everything.
I will add one point here. The solution which is being made today in the technology era, it should have three goals. And if these three, if you're talking about that, because it is adoption of the technologies also depend how application has been made. So if any product which has got three goals, if it has been made on these three goals, then definitely doesn't matter upscaling or the educate in taking the high class kind of technical chunk of people in the organization. That's not required. The first goal is it should be faster than paper. Second, it should be sub-second response. Third, it does not need any training. The solution which has been made, it does not need any training. It is a self-driven. Only that a kind of a change management was supposed to make aware to your organizations, to your staff fraternity, that why it is required, how it's going to add value to the organization, and how it's going to add value to individually to the employee. Then imply, and then I think the adoption and the all these 25% usage, 30% usage definitely will be away. But if any solution has been made it up, and if it is not being used at the utmost, the organization will not get the planned outcome, will not reach to or meet their goal, vision, and mission. Over to you.
No, thank you. I think these are all very wise words, and I would say that
Now, this is I have implemented. When we deployed the first version at Max Group of Hospital, adoption was 20%. Then we do a lot of R&D, and then we conclude that these are the three goals we are supposed to have and rebuild the solution. And it took 1 year, 1.5 years, and then adoption reached to 95%. And it is not me, or it is not it is the industry needs. And it was the industry needs, it was the user's need. And if user is asking that things, so but doctor said, why are you going to train me? Do you know the medical coding, medical journals better than me? Who taught you the smartphone? Smartphone was evolving still in 2009 and 2000. It was proven, right? And the first version of iPhone was out, and it was it was highly accepted and highly users were spread across the healthcare fraternity. That is what they said, and it was proven.
Right. No, absolutely. I think the self service capability of some of these tools are extremely important. You give power to the end users directly without they having to go through any intermediary for getting whatever they are looking for in an easy to use manner. I think that is something which is very critical and important. I'm sure we could have gone on for some more time, but I have been told that we are probably at the fag end of the time which was allotted to us. So thank you very much for all your insightful comments on this very important topic. And I think what we have discussed today are some very specific perspectives on how organizations are using data and analytics, and how are they benefiting also from the same. So on that note, we'll wish to kind of end the session here. Thank you very much for patiently listening to all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sudipta. Thank you very much.